before he noticed me. He bent to pick up the music sheets from the floor. I saw his face for the first time. All the air left my lungs. This was a man I'd recognize anywhere. Blinking once slowly to clear my eyes, I counted to 3, making sure I wasn't imagining things. When I looked again, it was still him, dressed all in black, from his open leather jacket, to his form-fitting t-shirt, to his tight jeans. My eyes nearly bugged out. Damn, those were some tight jeans. My stomach muscles clenched involuntarily, an instinctive reaction. A pulse of arousal spiked through my body, warming me from the inside. My gaze followed his body down further to his heavy black combat boots. My heart stuttered in my chest. It really was him. Noah fucking Hart. All my senses went on high alert. Noah Hart, lead singer of my favorite rock band Darkest Days, a rock star god, a man I admired beyond all reason, stood mere feet away from me. My eyes traveled over his body, taking in his long legs, broad shoulders, and messy dark hair. I gnawed on my lip as excitement ran through me. He looked even hotter in person than he did on stage or on TV. Although I had to be honest, I was sort of disappointed he wasn't wearing leather pants and eyeliner. Pure misery showed on his face, his expression alight with inner turmoil. I held still, not making a move, not making a sound. I didn't want to disturb him in what seemed to be a private moment. I also didn't want to risk opening my mouth and freaking out in the presence of one of my music idols. Noah scooped the papers up, gathering them into some semblance of order. His face was open and lined with pain. The emotion he exuded on stage was just as evident in person. I wondered if he was working on a new song, if this was part of his process. Something lit up inside my chest at the thought of Noah Hart having trouble writing songs. The fact that it might not come easy to him, despite the wondrous lyrics he wrote and the passionate way he sang, gave me a small bit of comfort. Sometimes it seemed like the work that I struggled with came about so effortlessly to everyone else. Maybe he and I had something in common when it came to that. I was still lingering in the doorway, watching him, drinking him in. Dark tattoos peeked out of the collar of his shirt. Enough of his upper chest was exposed to make my thighs clench. One of my shaky hands gripped the doorknob. The other was pressed to my heaving chest, feeling every one of my shallow breaths. I shouldn't have been so affected. It wasn't like I'd never met this man or his band before. I was a fan, after all. I'd seen them backstage dozens of times. I'd shaken their hands and spoke a few words to each, gotten their autographs and given them my thanks. I'd even seen a few members of the band up close at a private event once. Being a music student and having friends with connections in the industry had its perks. Of course, at the time, all I'd been able to do was stare at them, mouth gaping open and blushing. It had been mortifying. I wasn't going to let that happen again. I had to get out before I made a fool of myself. But I had stood in the doorway for too long. I should have left when I had a chance. Noah turned to leave. He froze as his eyes met mine. Immediately his expression shut down, eyes shuddering. His face went blank, no trace of the pain I'd seen before.
"What are you doing here?"
"I'm so sorry," I replied immediately, shuffling my feet back and forth awkwardly. His voice was flat.
"No one's supposed to be here."
I'm lost," I stammered. The expression on his face was chilly, except for the lingering frustration in his eyes and the downturned corners of his mouth. He set down the papers he'd picked up from the floor on the piano. "I'll just leave," I said weakly. Noah eyed me up and down slowly. My cheeks flushed with embarrassment at that penetrating gaze. I couldn't help eyeing him back. Damn, but those jeans were tight. I'd heard rumors, but he couldn't really be that big, could he? I could practically see his outline through the rough fabric.
"Do I know you?"
he asked. I shook